Hi there. Welcome to our very first podcast entitled The Antichrist. Have you noticed that in almost every generation, and it is almost certainly happening right now, when turmoil and uncertainty increase in the world, speculations and fear of the supposed rise of an Antichrist figure increase as well? The Antichrist is said to be a figure who is prophesied to oppose Jesus Christ and his followers and who claim to be the Messiah. Christian talking heads sound the alarm of an imminent rise of an Antichrist figure to take over the world each time peace in the Middle East region is threatened by either war or rumors of war. Throughout history, various world leaders have been labeled as the Antichrist, often due to political or religious interpretations of their actions and ideologies. These figures include Roman emperors like Nero, Domitian, and Titus, Italy's Benito Mussolini, and Germany's Adolf Hitler, French Emperor Napoleon, and more recent leaders like Saddam Hussein, George Soros, Vladimir Putin, Bill Gates, Hillary Clinton, Ronald Reagan, and even figures like Barack Obama and Donald Trump have faced such accusations. Probably the first American president to be widely called the Antichrist was Franklin D. Roosevelt, a trend that has extended to almost every American president since. Roosevelt's rapid expansion of government and consolidation of power, combined with his New Deal vision and influence in developing international bodies like the United Nations, seem to have checked the boxes of many 1930s American fundamentalists who believed that the Antichrist prophecy would be fulfilled by the consolidation of independent nations into one superstate, led by a seemingly benevolent leader that promised world peace. Historian Matthew Avery Sutton has argued that these anti-New Deal evangelicals who opposed Roosevelt and called him Antichrist foreshadowed the modern evangelical Republican alignment, along with its anti-liberalism and anti-globalism paradigm. It is important to note that these are interpretations, often based on religious and political beliefs rather than historical facts. The concept of the Antichrist is deeply rooted in religious texts like the Bible, and different interpretations of these texts lead to various individuals and leaders being labeled as such. There is no biblical justification for this position. In Islamic eschatology, the Mahdi is a prophesied figure who will appear at the end of times to establish justice and righteousness on earth. The concept is present in both Sunni and Shia Islam, though with some differences in interpretation and expectations. Some Islamic traditions suggest that Jesus, or Isa, as they refer to him in Islam, would return alongside the Mahdi, possibly to defeat the Antichrist. The term Antichrist only appears in the New Testament in the first and second epistles of John. 2 John verses 7 to 11. For many deceivers have gone out into the world who do not confess Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. This is a deceiver and an antichrist. Look to yourselves that we do not lose those things we worked for, but that we may receive a full reward. Whoever transgresses and does not abide in the doctrine of Christ does not have God. He who abides in the doctrine of Christ has both the Father and the Son. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this doctrine, do not receive him into your house, nor greet him, for he who greets him shares in his evil deeds. The first generation Christians had a specific name for the people who abandoned the faith and refused to continue to follow or obey or recognize the teachings of Jesus Christ. They called it Antichrist. Therefore, Antichrist is here and already at work, and it is not a futuristic concept. The term Antichrist should not be attributed to an individual. There is not just one, but many Antichrists. The spirit of Antichrist is a belief system that is founded on the denial of the person and work of Jesus Christ. The Antichrist were initially members of the Christian church, and they fell out and were now working against the faith they once professed and believed and practiced. It should be noted that the word Antichrist is never used in the book of Revelation in the Bible. It is not a substitute for the beast in the book of Revelation, chapter 13. Undoubtedly, the beast in Revelation chapter 13 is an enemy of Jesus Christ, and therefore it is Antichrist by default. Apostle John used the word Antichrist in very specific terms and was not related to the figure in the book of Revelation, known as the beast, and its mark, known as 666. The Antichrist is therefore not a single person who is regarded as a powerful and malevolent adversary. It is a belief system that denies the teachings and divinity and existence of Jesus Christ. The default position of many evangelical believers worldwide is premillennialism or dispensationalism. The belief that God's plan works in dispensations and Christ will return and resurrect Christians before his millennium or a literal 1,000 years rule on earth in which Christ will physically reign in Jerusalem as an earthly political leader. Two other competing viewpoints are amillennialists, who do not believe that there is and will be such a thing as a millennium rule of any kind, and postmillennialists, who believe that the millennium rule of Christ is going on right now, and Christians are reigning as kings on earth right now. In every one of these positions, it is possible to find loose ends. There is not much scriptural backing, however, for premillennialism, making it the weakest position on end times. The key feature of premillennialism is that Christ's reign is a national kingdom on earth with a geographical location, in contrast to many positions of scripture that depict God's kingdom as spiritual and universal. Dispensationalists also believe that, in addition to a pre-tribulation rapture, there will be an unveiling of the Antichrist after the rapture of the church takes place. While the raptured saints are in heaven, the Antichrist will supposedly establish his earthly kingdom on earth. But after 3.5 years of his reign, the Antichrist will break the covenant he made with the Jews in Jerusalem and embark on vicious persecution of them. Dispensationalists also believe that Christ will return 7 years after the rapture, right before the Jews are overtaken and destroyed by the Antichrist. Christ will then destroy and demolish the Antichrist and his followers rescue the Jews, and set up his earthly millennial kingdoms. Judaism has its own end time or end of days different from Christians. The central figure with the Messiah in Judaism is Moshiach, a divinely appointed leader who will usher in a new era of peace and justice. He will sit on the throne of David in Jerusalem and restore the Temple of Solomon in the same exact place where the Dome of the Rock Mosque is built in Jerusalem right now. This also will be marked by the ingathering of the Jewish people from all over the world. Premillennialism also claims there will be two resurrections, one of the believers and another of unbelievers. It separates the two events by a literal time frame of 1,000 years. The scriptures talk about one resurrection in one breath of both the believers and the unbelievers. Premillennialism also separates the last judgment from the second coming of Christ. But these two events are not dissected in the scriptures. Thank you. Be blessed.